Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and before we get into today's video, well, I'm just going to remind you the 3 books that are on sale. Drink tea and read the paper. If you're a green belt and a black belt and you want simple instruction on how to apply your skill, design of experiments for 21st century engineers, and finally, a statistical process control for small batch production. They are all available from lulu.com and the links are in the video below. Welcome to the latest video, and in this newsletter what we're going to talk about, well, we're going to go back and revisit the 5S, 6S, or indeed maybe even the 10S subject. So we're going to go back and look at 5S, essentially, or 6S. And this video was sparked by a post that Ron Stevens made on LinkedIn. You can see it. You can see it here. Look, Ron posted a little screenshot of a diagram showing you the 10S system, and if you read it, it's a little bit ironic, and making a point that it's all getting a bit out of hand, I suppose. Now, this sparked a little bit of humorous banter backwards and forwards, but of course, in amongst people talking about how many S's we were going to have and how silly it all was, of course, someone had to mention 6S and safety. Now, I know I've made videos about this before and I feel like I'm beginning to become a grumpy old man, so I decided, instead of making a video which is about ranting about the 6S being stupidity, I thought I would maybe turn this into a little bit of practical advice about where the 6S might sit. Okay, so that's what today's video is about. Where does the 6S actually live if you're going to do it as part of your workplace organization? Now, I was recently in a client. I was actually doing a designed experiment. You can see us here, like, collecting some data. There's the data collection sheets. We had a couple of days, fantastic couple of days, doing a designed experiment in this company. Now, I haven't been in this company for almost 2 years. And obviously, because of the current climate, they've had plenty of time to do process improvement work or to do 5S or whatever it is they wanted. And in the downturn, they decided not to lay people off, not to furlough people, but to keep people at work and to actually do those things. So they decided to do some workplace organisation, to do some process improvement. And part of the reason I was there doing the DOE is because now we were ready for the DOE because of the investment they'd made to sort their processes out. And while I was doing the DOE, I was wandering around and I was looking at their workplace organisation, their 5S, which was much better than it had been on my previous visits. This is a new piece of plant. It's a new factory. They've recently built it. And like all new factories, it tends to sort of come together in a very rough and ready form sometimes. And you concentrate on the machinery and you forget about all the background systems. So they spent a little bit of time sorting out the background systems. Now, this isn't rocket science. It's not world-class 5S, but I just wanted to show you some of the things that they've done. So the first thing, look, simple things. This is workplace organisation. And by the way, this is not about cleaning up. This is about making the job easier, communicating with the staff, actually making the workplace safer as well. Okay, so safety is in this example. So look, here's a piece of information. Look, making sure that you put the filter into this piece of machinery properly, because it's going to cause a problem. So information at the point of activity. Okay, so fantastic. And the other thing we've got, look, they're visualizing. So these injection guns here that you can see in this photo, these injection guns, they tend to wear out because of the amount of work that they're doing. They tend to wear out. You have to maintain them. And so we have a board now Simple, red and green, good ones, bad ones. You can't see it in the photo, but just round the corner from this board is the workbench where these guns are maintained. So we got some great visual management, simple visual management, information at the point of activity, making the process work better, getting the process under control. That's what 5S is for. Okay, so going great. But then look, we start to get other signs and information. And when I looked at these, I realized this is the 6S. This is safety. So let me just write the 5S's down a second. So we're going to go sort, set in order, shine, the one I hate, which is really maintenance. If you put maintenance in here, it makes much more sense. Alright, so shine, set in order, maintenance. Standardization. And, well, they call it sustain. Personally, I call it continuous improvement, but hey, you know, if you don't want to make money, then use sustain. So there are your 5S's. Now look, here is some more signage from this area. So look, they've put a sign about what the level of scrap is allowed to be on the pallet. So you can't quite see it in the photo, but just below that sign is a big pallet. It was empty, because they've improved the quality, to be honest, so there's not so much scrap about. But what they're saying is, look, there is a safe working level for scrap. Don't keep piling it up and piling it up and piling it up and creating an unstable load. Now, where on this diagram did that happen? Where? That's safety. So where did the 6S appear in these 5 steps? Because these are 5 doing events. These are all verbs. They are doing words. You do something in this. Safety is a noun. You know, it's just doesn't mean anything. You're not doing anything. You're not telling anybody to do anything. But where did safety appear? Well, look. Standardization is what they're doing. They're saying there's a standard for the height of pallets. And here it is. It's marked on the wall. We've put a sign up to show you. So actually, if you want safety in this, stick it here. So if you want to say standardization and safety, and you want to get a bit of a stutter, so it's kind of at the 4th S, there's a couple of them. Yeah, so there's a bit of a stutter there, but if you want to put safety in this, that is linked to something that you've got to do. You've got to visualize your safety standards. That's what this is. What you're doing here, it's visualization. When you do standardization, it isn't about setting a rule, it's about visualizing the rule. So it's about saying, by the way, there is a limit to the height of this pallet, and here's the sign that tells you where the limit is. I walked into this factory, I hadn't been in this factory for 2 years. I would have known if they were violating that rule, because it was visual and it was communicating to me. There was another rule which was about the height of good product. So there's a label here for the height of good product. There's a label on the machine, look. So one of the processing machines that we were doing the design of experiments on was a pressured vessel. And this label, this isn't on the vessel. Okay, so this label is actually on the control panel of the machine. So you can see there is a safe working pressure level for the vessel, and the information is at the point of activity. They are doing this again, standardization. Now in this case, they are standardizing their safety rules, but it doesn't have to be safety rules, of course. It could be what your stock levels are. So your basic stock levels, It could be you're visualizing the status of your machine, so your maintenance procedures, so your TPM records could be on the front of the machine with a checklist, so you can see everything's checked off and things like that. Of course, what's one of the safety things that you do on daily check sheets? Often there's a daily check sheet to check all your guards. So you check all the interlocks. Yeah, so, and then what do? Well, you visualize that. That's standardization again. So that standard is visualized at the point of activity. That is where safety sits in 5S. Now, you don't need that. It should just come as part of what you do, because you are making sure that the standards are adhered to. You are making sure there's gangways for people. You are making sure there's gangways for forklift trucks. You are making sure that fire hydrants are kept clear so that people can get access to them should there be a fire. Those are all rules and standards that have existed in the United Kingdom for the last 20 years. It doesn't need 5S for them to appear. But of course, if you want to say, oh, I need to define where the gangways are, well, what would you do? You'd sort. Let's get rid of all the crap out of the way. So let's create a nice clean space. Then let's decide, when you're doing the sorting, you'll decide what you do need. Then bring back what you do need, place them in the areas that you need them, set them in order. Now I can see where the gangways should go. Where should the gangways be for the forklift trucks? Where should the gangways be for the people? Now mark them out, of course maintain them, so if the tape gets scratched up when you're driving over the top, well, every week you have to replace them. That's what shine means. It doesn't mean sweeping up. Please don't introduce the 7th S, stupidity, into this. It means maintenance. Then of course we've got the standardization. Where are things stored? What are safe working loads? All of that kind of good stuff. How do you keep how do you make sure that you keep the people segregated from the forklift trucks? In lots of factories that I go into now, if you walk through the factory, there's barriers everywhere. There's only access points to cross at certain pedestrian crossings. It's just like being in the street where they do the same thing to you with barriers at traffic lights and all sorts of things. Same sort of thing. We're standardizing. We're making you understand what our safety rules actually are. And then of course, we're going to sustain this. Really what we're going to do is continuous improvement, because obviously you'll do a layout, maybe there's still blind spots and areas where near misses happen and things like that, and you have to modify, you have to improve. Because what do? You go around the process again, This is a process. It's a set of verbs. Safety isn't a verb, so it can't be part of the list unless you want to say standardization, in brackets, safety. And that is where your 6th S can be. Now that would be okay with me. And then I won't turn into a grumpy old man, which is what I'm turning into currently, because I come on these videos and I have a rant at you sometimes. But there's my advice. They're in a company, they got safety as part of their 5S. They did 5S, but safety just appeared in what they were doing. It's sort of obvious, but of course sometimes accidents happen because we missed the obvious. But if you want to bring it out in your 5S, put it in the 4th step, standardize your safety rules. And of course the other thing you can do when you do an audit, your audits are often down here, aren't they? So when you're doing your 5S audit, which of course, what does it tend to be? It tends to be bloody cleaning up. You're checking if you've cleaned up. Back to the 6th S of stupidity there. Don't make your 5S audits about cleaning up. If you want to put safety checks in there, so for instance, you could say your 5S audit, have all your interlocks been checked today? That's part of your 5S. It's part of workplace organisation. Why wouldn't it be part of workplace organisation? And then what you're doing then is you're making 5S also drive this at the same time. So please use 5S as a process. Use it as a continuous improvement tool. It makes more money. It makes bucket loads of money, 5S. Cleaning up definitely doesn't make money. Please use 5S properly. Let's make bucket loads of cash, and let's get the bloody manufacturing companies moving again.